Welcome back to Midco Sports tonight. Time to turn our attention to high school sports in South Dakota. And for more on rankings and recaps, here's Jason Andera.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Let's start by taking a look at the volleyball rankings from the South Dakota Media Poll. In Class AA, Harrisburg remains at #1. They, along with Mitchell, have gotten off to perfect starts, and both of them getting a few first-place votes. And they face each other coming up in just 7 days. Next Tuesday in Harrisburg and Huron, Aberdeen Central and Rapid City Stevens round out that top 5. Let's look in Class A now. Dakota Valley suffered their first loss of the year, but they stay at #1, and they also have a 1 versus 2 battle in the near future. A week from Thursday, they take on Sioux Falls Christian. And as the theme continues in Class B, we had a 1 versus 2 battle. Northwestern, coming in at #1, survived a test against Warner, their arch rival, at #2 in the rankings. Northwestern's Caitlin Fishbach and Riley Grand Prix each had 11 kills in just a 3-set win against their rivals. Northwestern, by the way, guys, has not given up 1 set all season long, so some great volleyball to look forward to in the coming week. Let's now move on to our prep rankings in football, where Sioux Falls, Washington got their first test of the year on Saturday at the President's Bowl. They were only up by 4 points in the fourth quarter, and it came this close for O'Gorman taking the lead. You see Isaac Struck getting it to Canyon Bauer, and his foot barely goes out of bounds, and on the very next play, Struck fires it. Brock Walker comes up with an interception on the 1-yard line. The ensuing 99-yard touchdown drive was capped off by Tupac Capella, and that win for Washington keeps them perfect at 3-0 and in firm control of that #1 spot. Tupac got some work in, to say the least. He carried the rock 43 times for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns. Let's hear from the Warriors.
You know, we've got the bigs. You know, we got the best running back in the state, and we've got great receivers too. But and Jaden did a nice job picking and choosing the passing game, when to get big first downs for us. And our kids responded well. We got challenged. We haven't been challenged, and good teams do that to you. Well, Gordon played a heck of a game. They played hard. They're well coached, and they exposed some of our stuff that we need to work on. And that's the best thing we can do to happen to us right now.
It was really intense. It was like I just had to follow my line. My line was doing all their jobs, and I was just doing what I had to do. Well, our coaches always tell us about diversity, so we don't really worry about the score. We just play what our coaches tell us to do. We just do what they want us to do.
Well, despite that loss, O'Gorman stays at a very respectable #2, and as you see, Rapid City Stevens makes an appearance in the top 5, in at #5. In Class 11B, we have a new #1 team. Parker Nelson once again went over the 200-yard mark for a win for his team, Sioux Falls Christian, over Canton on Friday. That win puts the Chargers at #1 in their class, and they got a big game coming up on Friday against #3 Sioux Valley. That should be a very good test for both teams coming up in Volga. Well, you can check out all of our rankings on our blog at midcosn.com. Time to take a look back at this week's top performers and hand out our SODAC game ball. Jacob Chiak for Avon, 20 attempts, 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jazz Dominguez from Chamberlain, look at this, 6 touchdown passes in the game, went for over 300 yards. And I threw an offensive lineman on the list for once. Max Howard out of Brandon Valley. He got a nod from his backs and his coach that he is the leader of that offensive line, and they once again go for over 200 yards rushing. Scott Jolly of Canastota Freeman, 34 attempts, 213 yards, and a touchdown in their win. Tupac Capella, we just talked about him, 43 attempts on the day. First of all, getting through 43 attempts is pretty impressive. He had cramps all game long, went for over 200 yards, and capped 3 touchdowns. He deserves to be on this list. Some more players on the list. Damian Lucas of Sioux Valley, 261 yards, a season high for him out of Sioux Valley. He had 3 touchdowns as well. We mentioned Parker Nelson and the work he did for Sioux Falls Christian, over 200 yards. Braden Peterson, another 4-touchdown week out of Brandon Valley. How about Eli Skoglund out of Alcester Hudson, 232 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, and he also passed for over 100 yards on the day. And don't mention 5 more tackles and a pick 6, so a great day for Eli. Peyton Zabel went for 5 touchdowns through the air for Pierre, but there can only be one varsity game ball. And this week I declare Jack Anderson earns that ball. 19 rushes, 234 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He is a violent runner for the Harrisburg Tigers, and he ripped up the the Huron defense. He had some absolutely spot-on blocking, and he did this all in just 3 quarters of work in the Tiger Bowl. That is a school record for most rushing yards in one game. Congratulations, Jack. Quite an accomplishment from a really storied program like Harrisburg. Remember, this week we have live South Dakota High School football on Friday at 5 p.m. That's when Sioux Falls Lincoln marches down 41st Street to take on Sioux Falls O'Gorman for O'Gorman's homecoming game. Always entertaining to see these intra-city matchups in Sioux Falls. Back to you, Kelly.
All right, thanks, Jandy. Remember, tomorrow we have a fun top 5 list for all you high school football fans. Our high school guys will rank the best quarterbacks in the Dakotas, but we don't want Jandy and Jody to have all the fun. We want to hear from you too. So go to Midco SN on Twitter and vote for who you think deserves to be on that list. When we come back, pure entertainment in 140 characters or less. It's Athlete Tweets next on Midco Sports Tonight.